in. So right away, I just want to show you the different things you can do in the game. Of course, you've got the regular play button over here, settings, history, just the basics, and also a tutorial that's quite helpful. We're going to go ahead and select a new computer opponent, and we can actually choose whether we want to be the Soviets or the Axis. That's completely up to us. We can also choose our opponent personality. In this case, I am going to take Konyev, not Zhukov, because, quite frankly, Zhukov is really quite good. We're also going to start on Operation Typhoon. Obviously, if you continue, you can go ahead and select the Moscow campaign, Zhukov's counterattack, etc., and you could play as the Soviets or the Axis, but I would recommend on these two to play as the Soviets. So we might be able to take a look at both factions today, but I'm going to go ahead and start as the Axis. So let's jump in against Konyev and wish us luck. By the way, the soundtrack of this game is obviously excellent. At this point, the daily briefing is pretty clear. We need to go ahead and take this area, and that is Lili Marlin in the background. We need to take Moscow. It's quite clear. And I'm looking at the battlefield here, and we can see that, for instance, the enemy have a lot of trench works in this area. They also have a lot of infantry in this area. And we've got Kursk over here, which is worth 3 victory points. Kaluga, which is worth 2, Orel, which is worth 3, Tula. These are all very actual valuable locations. So you need to look at the map for those VPs, and we also want to try and take Moscow. Of course, I think that's going to be a lot more difficult, but we can certainly attempt to. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select a Soviet unit to interdict. They won't be able to move in the next turn. And thank you, Goring, for that. We'll go ahead and commit for our attack here in Zhurovka. And sometimes you can see these emblems on the units, which lets you know that these are elite units. We're going to go ahead and commit to this attack, and hopefully we wipe out the 50th Army and the 43rd. All right, that's perfect. So the Soviets have retreated. Obviously, completely destroying them would be even better, but this allows us to move in the next set of turns. Okay, I think I'm also going to attack over here with our infantry. Once again, we stand no chance of taking any damage, and we've got some pretty excellent core here, so I'm going to commit to the attack. Okay, there we go. So another Soviet retreat. We are doing very well here for basically the first few turns. Let's go ahead and continue. Okay, here we go. So on to Moscow. Once again, I see an opportunity here to push some Soviet units back. Then again, if we don't commit to that and we jump to this attack, we could potentially break a Soviet army. At that point, we could take our tank units and start cutting the Soviets off. I think that would be much better for us, so I'm going to commit to this attack. These are all elite tank units. The Soviets are actually fighting back pretty well. So they did retreat. Soviet turn. Keep those fingers crossed, because they are not going to let us down easy. Alright, I think I want to continue the attack over here, but I'm concerned that I could be cut off pretty easily by these other Soviet units. So maybe we need to wipe out this unit first, or one of these units on either side of our tanks, just to be absolutely safe. I'm not sure, guys. I think this is what I'm going to do. I'll send our half-tracks forward instead of our tanks, so that our tanks can hold that position. Hopefully we force these guys to retreat as well. After all, the half-tracks could cut off enemy supplies just as well as the tanks, so why not? Fortunately, the half-tracks are not as strong as the tanks, which is why we took 2 hits, but the Soviets did retreat. This really opens up a lot of different options. Yeah, they have to send defenders here. They can see exactly what we're trying to do, and that actually shows the AI in this game is quite good. immediately they see that we can break through here and cut them off, and that would just be a disaster for the remaining units. So I could try to send in, I don't want to send in all our units, but I could send in 2 tank divisions. We need to keep one here to basically hold this point. And see if we can break through these guys right here. There's actually a big chance that they'll retreat. So yeah, we're definitely going for these blitzkrieg tactics. I believe you guys can see that. Cutting off the Soviet rail line over here. If we manage to smash into the enemies here, I think we can do a tremendous amount of damage. They're going to run out of ammunition, supplies, etc. And we took 2 victory points. But I think we should also focus on Rzhev. This is quite an important location. Not to mention that the areas over here on the south of Kursk are actually quite open. So I'm thinking that a push over here would be pretty easy. And that's just an easy 3 victory point grab. Not to mention that I believe the units can actually spawn from Kursk. So that's a location we probably want to try to wipe out. Wow, are they going to try an attack on my half-track? No way. They can't stop our SDKFCs, especially not the Lair Motorized Brigade. But that was a brave attempt, I must admit. I think they're becoming a bit desperate. Let's see. Okay, I see exactly what we need to do here. We can send a unit into Bryansk. So we're actually committing to 2 different combats. This one is a lot less likely to go well. Wow, I'm surprised. The enemy put up an excellent fight, matching our tanks. And here I think we're going to run afoul of the Soviets. This is not going to go well. We also have a lot of defenses right here. It looks like actually nobody got hurt, but these 2 buildings basically prove that they have urban defenses, and that can be a serious problem. Again, very brave. They're sending in some Soviet cavalry. My mistake. The Soviet cavalry just wiped out our SDKFCs. I can't believe that, but you know what? Govator must be an incredible commander, because that is just a massive loss on our end. We will need to respond, of course. I'm trying to think. I think that probably the best thing to do is go ahead and attack this area while we can. Bring in all of our infantry. And commit. Do some serious damage here. Not bad. We didn't actually make them retreat, but we did a lot of damage to the units. And I believe one more attack in the next set of turns would wipe them out. So there we go. They're sending out their units from Moscow. I'm guessing those are Revolutionary Guard units, and they can be quite nasty. Let's see. We can't get to Bryansk, but we can fight in the woods here and try and destroy this 3rd army. And as you can see, we cannot bring in more than 3 units, which is unfortunate. We need to deal with just the units we have here in Boche. So I'm going to attack. And again, they have some defenses here in the form of woodlands. That actually stopped us from doing any damage whatsoever. So again, if you're playing this game, you want to go for strong strategic positions. Those include woodlands, town areas, even the trenches are going to provide more cover than just open ground here, like the rail areas. Okay. So we could attack here. We could also start moving towards Rzhev. I think we owe it to the Fallen to move towards Rzhev and do our best here. There is a small chance the enemy will retreat, but more than likely we won't do any damage because of all the defensive cover. And we could even take some damage ourselves. So, let's see. We did a bit. It's not huge, but just one more step towards victory. Now, of course, that's the end of the turn. As you guys can see, the turn has multiple different sort of sets to it. It's not necessarily just, my turn, your turn. There's a lot of different dimensions to each turn. You can't just move your army all at once. You need to decide which units to move to a specific area and commit to that. So let's continue here, and we should be able to continue forward. Again, gotta love that soundtrack. It's just exceptional. Take a look here at the victory points. And right now, it's 2 and 5, I believe. I believe we do have more victory points than the enemy. Okay, here we go, guys. We want to continue our blitz. But to do that, we've got to wipe out these rear infantry units. So I'm actually going to see if I can attack here. Now, as for an enemy unit to interdict, I'm trying to see which one would be most valuable. I think it's going to be this guy. We don't want him moving because he's going to be able to support his buddies over here near Bryansk, and we want to destroy Bryansk, or at least that area. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to... Ooh, interesting. We can actually go ahead and replace a unit's strength pips. We're definitely going to give that to our tank unit. Okay, so this is definitely what we want to go for. Open up this entire area in Spasdemensk. Let's attack. Brutal, and we totally destroyed that Soviet unit. I definitely want to start moving these units around, and we're just doing this to cut off the enemy, and essentially. Okay, we're getting closer to Bryansk, but we need to break this line first. So let's see if we can get rid of the Third Army here. We're still going to have that wooden defense. Wow, not a scratch. Not a single scratch. So it's going to take a little longer than we anticipated to destroy that unit. Okay, as you can see, the enemy are going to be getting a number of reinforcements throughout the game. This is what really becomes difficult. But if we take places like Moscow, we can start to cut off those reinforcements. Also, if we land on that square, we can start to cut off reinforcements. Back to us, and I believe we can wipe these guys out. Let's go for it. Didn't go nearly as well as I thought it would, but they have nothing left at this point. So one more attack will get rid of them. Cavalry unit is extremely brave, but it looks like our tanks could stand up to them no matter what. I believe that's also a Panzerlehr tank division, so they know what they're doing. They're not going to just be broken by some cavalry units. At least we hope they're not broken by some cavalry units. So we talked about moving towards Kursk. I want to get these panzers together, and I want to hit OG Ernakov. Glorious victory there, boys. And of course, we want to immediately start moving towards Kursk on all fronts. This enemy unit could still cut us off and cause a lot of problems, so we probably want to also move our infantry forward next turn. Alright, let's start getting these guys in position. Sometimes you attack, sometimes it's all about maneuvering your men into locations so that your supply doesn't get affected. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Look at that. We can cut off Bryansk right now. Alright, let's go for the attack here on Bryansk, but I'm going to try to bring this tank division along, and hopefully this is enough to take the city. 2 hits, not bad, considering the defenses. I'll take it. And here we go, more of the enemy reinforcing units arriving. I hate the fact that they're getting so many reinforcements. But the fact is, we are in their country. They're going to have consistent reinforcements. Sometimes those reinforcing units can be quite powerful. So I think we want to go ahead and engage the guys here. Hopefully wipe them out. Once again, we haven't managed to get these guys at all. The heavy wood cover that they have. Finally, we're getting some shots, and they have retreated. Don't want to pass. The enemy did. So wow, one unit at a time, that's right. Yeah, the modifiers here. If you want to take a look at the modifiers, obviously just click the key and you can sort of see what's affecting the defense, the attack, etc. In this case, that was a bad decision. I don't like to do undos, though. I like to commit to what I've done, no matter how terrible it is. In this case, I learned. So we're going to go ahead and commit. Leave it to partisans in the forest to completely destroy one of your units. So we cannot move into that area. That's the end of the turn. Take a look at the weather here. And obviously the weather does affect movement. In the earlier game that the same company made, I believe it's Battle of the Bulge, if I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of snow that would affect movement, that would affect, you know, air support, etc. I'm sure that's the case here. Luckily, we don't have any snow as of right now. A unit to interdict. I guess it's going to be one of these guys. Can't select them. Have to select one of these units. Fair enough. And as for adding some infantry replacements, I'm going to go ahead and add it to that unit. Alright guys, the battle for Bryansk is about to commence. I want to bring in some infantry. They're definitely going to help to get into the city, hopefully. That's awesome. So we've got Bryansk. That's a huge win for us. We can also start cutting off that Soviet infantry that's frustrating us so much. And I'm going to send one tank unit over there to cut them off. As for attacking them, I don't think I want to. They seem to know what they're doing. They're well hidden in the woods, and they've got a lot of bridges here, which only allow us to send one unit at a time. So if we're going to have to commit to attacking them, we might need to bring some of these infantry units over. But again, it's going to take away from other potential moves we could make, so I'm not sure if it's worth it. More reinforcements for the Soviets. Never ends. Okay, let's see. Rzhev should be our next target for sure. I think wiping out this army would move us in that direction quite quickly. So let's do that. Here we go. Down. Oh my goodness. No, come on. Nice. Very nice. So we wiped out 2 of those units. I told you they wouldn't last long. Once you cut off your supply line, things get really tough for the unit. Alright, once again, the cavalry and the infantry are really on their last legs there. I think I'm going to commit here to this attack. Just 2 infantry units, though. I'm not sure if they could take Rzhev alone. We're going to need to bring these tanks over eventually. I hope for much better than that, but I guess we have to accept it. Okay, so as you can see, this is the Guards Tank Division. The 4th Tank Brigade is definitely a Guards Tank Division. They're very, very high class. So despite doing a lot of damage there, we really only got 1 hit. We absolutely want to wipe those guys out. A bunch of T-34s, they are very, very good in combat. If we can destroy them this or next turn, or even in the next series of turns, I think that's going to be essential for a victory, because they can get behind our lines, do a bunch of damage. In this case, though, we put up a pretty good fight. Yeah, I think we could probably drive these guys back. Let's go for it. Pretty good. So we've obviously weakened them quite a bit, but we didn't succeed in driving them back at all. If you look at the pips, that's exactly what those are called. And those are those little, like, sort of white and gray dots there. The enemy units over here have very few pips, which means that either they have very low morale or very few men, and I'm not really worried about these units. You know, ostensibly we can move one tank unit in there and destroy them all. So we don't have to worry about that as much as we do these other units here. Let's see what else we can do. We could try and wipe these guys out. But as you can see, once again, that bridge is just going to destroy us. Again, I don't believe in undos, so we have to commit to getting destroyed here. And this is the 4th 43rd Corps. This is a really, really good unit. So at least they managed to stick around, which means, yeah, maybe next turn, if we send in some units, we could actually mount a pretty decent offensive. Although our pips are pretty low on that infantry as well. And there we go. It looks like some sort of... It's not an armored personnel carrier, maybe some sort of motorized car. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop any support from Rzhev, especially that unit right there. And we can increase a pip to one of our armor units. Definitely going to increase the pip to this one right here. I guess we can only select this one, but fair enough. We're going to wipe that infantry out anyway. Okay, let's bring some support here. I mean, things could really go either way, but for the very first time, it's looking like we could potentially do 1 damage. I honestly feel bad for the trees in this region because they are getting shot up non-stop, but it's really not. We're not managing to destroy any of the enemies. Okay, there's the 4th Guards tank. Oh my goodness, that's what I was worried about. Thank you, 1st Panzer. That's amazing. So as you can see, they're trying to get behind our lines and cause disruptions with that 1st Guards tank division. That's exactly what I was concerned about. And there's really no way to reach them without destroying infantry units here. So let's go ahead and attack and hopefully wipe the 32nd Army out once and for all. There we go. Okay. Closer and closer to Rzhev, and I think this is going to be a decent attack. Nice. So they're going to retreat to Rzhev almost certainly. Wow, no. They jumped into the woods there, and that's actually, it might seem like a good thing. It's not. Even though Rzhev doesn't have any more defenders, these guys could easily just, as soon as we attack Rzhev, just move over here, cut off the rail lines, and we're basically stuck. So that's really frustrating. All right, let's attack. Show these 4th Guards tank division that they can be wiped out. Nice. So we actually crushed one of the infantry units there. Of course, the enemy elite tank division is still moving around, but I think that's a really good start. What to do next? All right, I want to start moving towards Kursk. I think for now, I'm going to be quite conservative in my approach. I'm not going to attack yet. And actually, they're attacking us. Wow. Okay. Nice work, Panzers. Of course, Belov and his Guards Cavalry Division seems to be a pretty rough unit, but I think they basically just showed us their hand. So at this point, I'm going to try to cut them off. and maybe just try to take Kursk without even a shot being fired. Oh, look at that. A nice little achievement behind enemy lines. Which, by the way, is an underrated movie. I like that film. Alright, so we definitely want to wipe out the Soviets over here. At the same time, we want to take Kursk. So I think maybe the best thing to do, we'll go ahead and stop interdiction or interdict that unit. As for replacing an infantry division's pips, we wanted to replace this infantry division's pips so we can finally wipe out those Soviets trapped behind our lines. And I think we'll commit to this attack. But actually, we don't have to. We can bring in some support. I don't think an armored car is going to do well in the woods, so I'm going to bring forward another infantry unit. A lot of reinforcements there. The only benefit here is that, or I should say not even a benefit, just a slight plus, is that the reinforced units, as you can see, have very few pips. So it almost looks like they're bringing up conscripts at this point to try and stop our advance. So Kursk actually is pretty well defended. Trying to see what I can do here. I'd like to bring some more tanks up, that's true. But I think I'd like to actually go ahead and get a group going first. No, we can undo moves as long as there's not an attack. I'm gonna allow that one handicap. So yeah, I want to move here. Do I? Let's see. I think I do. I think we can take Kursk with these 3 units. Not easily, but we can potentially take it. Let's commit. I don't like that, just because, you know, there's so many units here that could potentially get behind our lines, but sometimes you need to take risks if you want to win. I definitely want to destroy that guards tank unit, so let's bring in some supporting units and try and get rid of it. Amazing work by the 9th and 7th Corps. Just absolutely amazing. Okay, those reinforcements are going to be arriving on the front lines pretty soon here. Although, as you guys can see, we've actually done a pretty good push. Of course, taking Rzhev and Kursk, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. Taking Moscow is going to be very difficult, but we are going to try our best. Let's see what else we can do here. Could cut off these units pretty easily. Let's take a look here at the chat. Let's see what Okay, let's see. So Rzhev is open now, guys. It's open for business. And I think we have to make a push. Even if this guy cuts us off, we've got to see if we can attack Rzhev. Wait a minute. Can we only send 1 unit in? No way. There we go. That's what I thought. Okay, guys, let's hope that the 2nd and 23rd Corps know what they're doing here, because this would be a massive victory for us. We need those victory points. And that's 9. No, they did not do well. And now the enemy can easily just go ahead and cut us off here, and we are in a lot of trouble. There we go, guys. It's a defeat. The offensive fails. I got 5 victory points. In other words, we had to move a lot faster. I do like the Deutsche Reichssport. You get a little grade, which is a C in my case. It's sort of like George Bush. I got a C. I mean, yeah, I think that's acceptable, right? Not so bad. But there we go, guys. So that's just, of course,